All right, let's get started. Let me get started. And just like yesterday, we're going to do this in two phases. All of you know that the city has experienced just a great deal of. We face some huge challenges, and it's going to take a lot to bring us back. And some people have been asking, one person asked me today, said, "Are you hoping that the city of Houston will be back before the end of your term?" No, I'm hoping Houston will be back in less than 1 year. And he kind of looked at me. But let me tell you one of the reasons why I think we will be back within a year, if not less, and that's because of there are people in the city corporations and people that are just going over and above, showing their support early. And we talked about one on yesterday. Today, I want to highlight three others. Today, I want to announce a contribution, for example, from Verizon to the Hurricane Harvey Disaster Relief Fund, which County Judge Ed Emmett and I, the county and the city, I should say, and certainly we have here standing today with Commissioner Rodney Ellis is here, State Senator John Whitmire, the chair of Public Safety is also here. Councilman, why are you standing way over there?
I'm right here.
Councilmember Brenda Stardick. But Verizon has gracefully stepped up to provide $2.5 million to that local fund. Krista Bourne is here. Krista, thank you so very much for being generous. And let me just say they are doing more than that as it relates to the affected region. I think their contribution may be as much as $10 million, but $2.5 million of that is dedicated to Houston-Harris County. I want to thank you. Yeah. I want to thank Verizon. And in addition to that, they're doing other things to assess this as well. So it's not just about the money, but they actually have boots on the ground. So thank you. Thank you, Krista Bourne, on behalf of Verizon. And then I also want to acknowledge Waste Management. Waste Management is represented by Jim Fish. Waste Management is contributing $1.5 million to the... And again, Waste Management is doing some things on the ground, boots on the ground as well. But their cash contribution to the city of Houston and Harris County is $1.5 million. Jim, thank you so very much on behalf of Waste Management for just being a very strong partner for the city of Houston. And then Gretchen Scher. Where's Gretchen? Gretchen, you're over there. Of course, Gretchen is with the Houston Rockets organization, Les Alexander. And they have allowed us to use the Rocket, the Toyota Center, as one of our shelters, easing the flow on the George R. Brown. So we thank them for that. And then initially, Les Alexander had committed $4 million to the relief fund for Houston and Harris County. And then he came back after saying yes to the shelter, up that contribution from $4 to $10 million. And so we certainly want to thank the Rockets for their gracious contribution, and Les Alexander. So give it up to Gretchen Scher on behalf of the Rockets organization. When you just add what's standing before us, when you add that together, 4 plus 10 equals 14, if my math is still good. So right here standing from Waste Management, Verizon, the Houston Rockets organization, Les Alexander, $14 million that will be utilized for the local community, the city of Houston, Harris County. Look, don't bet against Houston, don't bet against Harris County. We're coming back, and we're coming back strong. So thank you all so very much for being very generous. Thank you so very much. Okay? Now, let me get y'all to segue off, and I'm going to bring another group on. No, y'all stay.
We're trying to get back to work, Mayor. We're going to stay here.
Hey, Janine.
How are you?
Hey. Good. All right, let me. This is the status update. You know, we didn't do it. We didn't do it this morning. Kind of wanted to make sure that we're just not standing before you just to be standing before you, but to provide information, kind of tell you where we are. I have the opportunity to do an aerial view of the city of Houston today. There are two particular areas that are still dealing with, let's say, flooding issues, specifically as it relates to water that is still standing. The Kingwood area in northeast Houston is one. The Kingwood situation appears to be improving from day to day, so that's good news, but they're still facing issues in the Kingwood area. And then the other area is in West Houston. That area is from the release from the reservoirs. Those areas are still facing flooding challenges, and we'll deal with that in a little bit. But from the aerial view, you saw those two particular areas. But the rest of the city of Houston, at least from the parts that we were able to see, are drying out, and they're drying out, and they're drying out well. Traffic is returning to our streets, and we are turning the corner. I do want to announce that BARC will be reopening tomorrow for intake at 1 o'clock. So BARC will be reopening. That's good. The Houston Zoo will be reopening Friday, September 1st, and I think they're doing their reduced fee of just $5. So the zoo will be opening tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and the discounted price for entrance is $5. I want to bring up someone who we've not had before you. We know that the port is number one in foreign tonnage. It is vital not just to the city of Houston and Harris County or to our region, but the port is vital to the entire country. Matter of fact, they get traffic from all over the globe. And today we have the chairman of the board, Janice Longoria, and I've asked her to come to provide us with a status report. Janice.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm so pleased to be here today to provide an update on Port Houston. But first, let me begin by saying that as we recover at Port Houston, we keep all those that have been negatively impacted in our thoughts and prayers, and many I might add, are employees at Port Houston that have also been devastated. The Houston Ship Channel, as the mayor indicated, is the busiest waterway in the nation, supporting one of the most productive ports in the nation, and supporting the largest petrochemical complex in the nation that supplies a significant percentage of refined petrochemical products that drive our nation. So it is essential to our economic security and our energy security. So, of course, it's very important that we get back to business as quickly as possible. That's a message that the mayor has underscored over the last several days, wanting all of us to get back to business. So let me give you an update. The captain of the port, Kevin Odett, of the United States Coast Guard, has opened the channel to commerce from Galveston to Morgan's Point and into Bayport, restricted to daylight hours at a 37-foot draft. However, significant inflow of floodwater from Buffalo Bayou and San Jacinto River into the channel is creating very swift currents that make it unsafe to bring vessels into the Bayport Container Terminal. Our port industry partners, along with the United States Coast Guard, are continuing to monitor the situation daily. Captain Bob Sheeran of the Houston Pilots is reviewing the currents in the channel and at the Bayport Flare every day. Once that current is reduced to a level that makes navigation safe, we will be able to bring ships into the Bayport Container Terminal. In the interim, while we're waiting to do that, under our Executive Director, Roger Gunther's leadership, we announced today that we at Port Houston are going to open our doors for business at our container terminals to begin the receipt and the delivery of containerized cargo so that when the channel is opened, we are ready to load those containers onto ships and to get them out of our port. It also, in opening our port, for business. It, of course, underscores the message that we have heard repeatedly from Mayor Turner about getting back to business and resuming normalcy. So we're very pleased to do that. Our Bayport and Barbers Cut terminals are going to be open tomorrow. Starting at 7 a.m., they will be open to 5 p.m. for the delivery and receipt of containerized cargo. We are open for business, and thank you, Mayor Turner, for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, let me thank the chairman of the port. As we know, it's vital. We're getting it back up. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the work that you all are doing. Superintendent Carranza is here, and I think we were hoping that school was going to get started on Tuesday, but I know that they've been doing their assessments, and there may be a slight delay. So, Superintendent Carranza of HISD.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just an update for all of our residents. We have 218,000 students and another 31,000 employees in our school district. We also have about 300 facilities, which are school facilities and district facilities. Because of the floodwaters, we've been able to inspect, as of this point, approximately 200 of our facilities. So we have 100 to go. We hope to have that inspection done by later this evening or first thing in the morning. To this point, what we've found in the inspection of our facilities, I've been out there with our folks, is that there is not one of those buildings of those 200 that hasn't been touched in some way, shape, or form by floodwaters. Some of the water intrusion has been very minimal. In other buildings, approximately 14, it's been significant. Standing water in the buildings. We've also had roof damage to many of our buildings and just power issues with some of the buildings as well. Given that assessment, the prospect of bringing students into buildings that are not worthy for educational purposes, we announced today that school will start on September 11th, which is Monday, September 11th. We hope to have our facilities in shape by this Friday, or next Friday, which is September 8th. So teachers, your first day is September 8th. You'll have a work day. And then on Monday, the 11th, we hope to have students back in classes. With that, there will be a number of alterations to this year's school year, not the least of which may be that depending on the condition of our facilities, we may have some campuses that we will co-locate with other campuses while we're doing remediation work at those facilities. We are also ensuring that we will have a full complement of crisis counselors so that when students do come back, they will receive the support that they need based on whatever trauma they've experienced over the last few weeks. I'm also very proud, Mr. Mayor, to say that the Council of the Great City Schools, of whom we're part of, 60 largest urban school districts in America, our sister school districts across the country are also identifying crisis counselors in their school districts. Should and if the need arises, they will come to Houston to help support not only our students, but also the caregivers to our students, our teachers and our counselors, because we know that they've been impacted as well. So on all aspects, physical and social emotional, we're going to be ready to go on September 11th. We want you to be sure to check our website because we're giving tips for parents in the interim of what you can do to start that learning process as we go forward. But one thing we want to say to everyone is please, at this point, follow all emergency announcements. Do not come out into the schools unless we've invited you to do so. There's going to be an awful lot of traffic, an awful lot of work happening at our schools. We want everybody to be safe so we can see every one of those 218,000 students on September 11th. Thank you, sir.
Let me thank the superintendent. We want things to get back in operation as soon as possible, but we want us to be safe at the same time, especially for our kids. So I think we all understand that. And I went in the closet the other day and I found my hammer and toolbox. So I'll be out there doing what I can with some of your schools. You're looking at me like y'all don't believe me. All right, with regards to fire, the firefighters been out there, 24/7 trying to make it happen. Chief Pena.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may, before I begin with my report, I'd like to thank the mayor for his continued leadership and positive message of community and resiliency and grit. We took a reconnaissance flight this afternoon, and it was encouraging to see people walking, traffic on the highways, and people actually doing work and trying to get back to their homes and doing the work they need to do to recover from this devastation. So for that, Mayor, thank you. Thanks. So fire department stats, since the operation began on Saturday, the Houston Fire Department has responded just shy of 16,000 calls. Over 7,600 of those have been water rescue or water-related incidents. As of today, midnight, 800 calls is what we've received for service, and only 22 water rescues. So they're steadily diminishing. We do continue to effect certain rescues, but at a much smaller scale. So today at 9 o'clock, we began the second stage of our response and recovery phase. We're starting our wide area search in the first of 6 major areas that were heavily inundated throughout the city of Houston. The process entails going door to door and ensuring that we have secured and searched for any individuals that may need help or otherwise. So we will complete that first area today, and we hope to have the rest of the 5. Well, we don't hope. The projection is that we will complete the other 5 by the end of the day tomorrow. So as far as that goes, what I do want to take this opportunity to state to the people that are coming back to their homes to assess the damage and start the recovery is be cautious of the hazards that exist because of the flooding. Certainly, wildlife, snakes, rodents, they get displaced during this time. They seek shelter in the homes and food, so be cautious of that. Flood waters, bury, displace, or damaged containers for pesticides and poisons. So again, be very cautious. It is a hazardous environment. Watch what you're doing and call 911 if you have a true emergency. So, thank you. Seguro. Todo. Todo el reporte. Can we do it afterwards? Okay. Bueno. Las precauciones. Okay. Las precauciones. Lo que quisiéramos decirle al público es que está regresando a sus casas para cesar el daño que sostenieron en sus hogares, que existen peligros a resultado de las inundaciones. Hay víboras, puede haber víboras, ratones, cosas que están buscando refugio en las casas o comida. También puede ser que que hayan dañado los contenidos de venenos o otras cosas que puedan ser dañosas a las personas. Lo que queríamos decir es que tengan precaución cuando regresen a sus casas. Si es una emergencia, que llamen al 911. Gracias.
Thank you, Chief. And let me also thank the sign interpreter. You do both English and Spanish.
He does,
Yeah.
and he does it very well.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, it's this.
Okay, and then with respect to police, and again, they've been working 24/7 as well, and so I want to thank them for their service. Chief Satterwhite.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to open and start by echoing Chief Pena's remarks about the mayor. I was also on that flight along with Chief Acevedo this morning for the overflight, or this afternoon, and Chief Acevedo said something that we all agreed. We have the right leader at the right time. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. So about statistics. Last night from 1800 hours or 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. this morning, we had 69 total arrests. 8 of those were for looting. Now, to give you some perspective, this is a large city, well over 2 million people, and on a daily basis, looting can also seem like burglary on a normal day. So, and we usually can have higher statistics than that, and we are out there working to combat that. So, my point being is that again, thank you to the community, because everybody's working with us. People are staying off the roads unless they have to go onto the roads. They're not, and so therefore they're less chance of them becoming victims to any predator that might be out there. And it's also a whole lot easier to identify the people that are out there to do bad things. So thank you in advance to all the public for working with us on that. As of the report earlier, we only had 55 calls holding in the city. Again, large city, that's good. We're still knocking those down. At one point, we were down to 8 calls. So and calls are steadily coming in, so you can imagine. But we're on top of that. To date, since August 25th at 6 p.m. when we started our first operational period, when we knew the storm was coming, we've cleared about 27,665 calls for service. The rescues, we did from 6 p.m. last night until 11 a.m. this morning. We rescued an additional 18 people, 3 high water rescue missions, but overall the numbers are going down significantly. We still have challenges out on the west side, like the mayor discussed about with the flooding out there. Kingwood is better, and most of our operations for rescue have moved out west. Missing persons, we've got a lot of requests about questions about missing persons. We received about 30 missing persons reports since the storm began. We have cleared 11 of those already. We still have 19 cases that or persons that we are looking for. Now, that doesn't mean the worst. What that means is a lot of people are displaced. They're in shelters, or they may be with friends, and a lot of ways where they might normally communicate, which would be cell phones and all those types of communication, aren't working for them right now because they lost those types of devices during the storm. So it doesn't mean the worst, and we'll continue looking for those individuals, and as we find them, we relocate them or reunite them with their family members and their loved ones. And so we are hopeful and remain confident that we will locate everybody at some point, and hopefully the outcome will be good for all. I want to make one point of clarification. Chief Acevedo wanted me to talk about. There was a report about Homeland Security investigations agents that were working in the Kingwood area, and whether or not that that we had people that were impersonating law enforcement, Homeland Security investigators, agents, or not. And after further looking into that, we discovered that it was, I think there was a report of an agent up there. It was a Homeland Security investigations agent that was working that area. But understand that our Homeland Security Investigations department is working with us on rescue and taking care of people. Nothing else. That is their goal is with us today, and I know that they have about 240 agents assisting us, and they're working through FEMA. But their whole goal is to help get people to safety, to take care of people, and that is what they're out there doing. In terms of, and I will caution though everybody that when people come knocking at your door and that aren't very rarely identifiable as police, to ask to look at their IDs to confirm, and there'll be clear markings and IDs that state that they are the police. And if you're still not sure, you can call us and we'll verify for you whether or not it is a person that is truly representing a law enforcement agency and there to help, versus potentially somebody there to try to take advantage of you. So feel free to call, but there should be some readily markings on them to pay attention to and to clear that up. And with that, I will close, Mr. Mayor. Oh, one last thing. Roads. We still have a lot of roads closed. We still have some freeways closed. If you do go out, please be mindful of that. Water, it looks like, especially in the dark, water looks like a road. You can't tell the difference in the dark, and you could end up still running into water, and it could ruin your vehicle, or God forbid, worse. So please be careful about being out on the roadway. Thank you.
Yeah, let me remind people, if there are barricades that are up, please take notes. Don't try to go around the barricades. They're there for a reason, they're for a purpose. With regard to shelters, the number in our shelters are continuing to go down. And for example, at M.O. Campbell, it had reached as many as 2,000 at M.O. Campbell. That number is now down to less than 500. And so as a result of that, with ample space being at the NRG, those individuals are being transferred over to the NRG. And then with respect to the George R. Brown, at its peak it was at 10,000. That number is now down below 8,000. And the number at the Toyota Center is decreasing as well. And so probably towards the end of tomorrow, we're going to consolidate the people at Toyota Center and transfer them over to the George R. Brown. All of this, of course, would not be taking place with all of these shelters and everything else without the support and the assistance of Metro that has done just a yeoman's job. Certainly want to thank Metro for just being highly efficient and effective and cooperative Karin Patman from Metro.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm glad to report that tomorrow we will have doubled the number of bus routes running to 40. The Red Line rail service will be extended. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Mayor, one of those is in fact the Acres Homes route.
Thank you, folks.
Absolutely. I was going to say the 44, but he always corrects me. That's the Popo. The Red Line rail service will be extended from Fannin South to the Burnett Transit Center, and we'll have bus shuttles all the way up to North Line. We will have bus shuttles along the green and the purple routes. Those will still be, the rails still won't be going, but we'll have the bus shuttles. And then the park and ride goes up on Tuesday. We're still evaluating the HOV, HOT lanes, but right now, service on those is still suspended. We are gradually increasing MetroLift service, and so if you want to go to our website, www.ridemetro.org, to find out the status of all of these services, please do so. That's the best way to keep up. And then, of course, we continue to support security and shelter operations. I had a wonderful experience today. As part of my role as chair of Metro, I've been doing some troubleshooting for other issues as well. And the mayor asked me to go out and check on all the great work being done by the Second Baptist community. So I met with Dr. Young and with Tony Richmond and David Dixon and just a whole team of people that have marshaled. They're volunteers, they're getting in food, they're ready to go help people rebuild their homes. And it was really, I'm naming just a few of the services they provided, but it was a real blessing for me to see that. And of course, it's representative of the heart and the love that's being shown all over Houston for our fellow citizens. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chairman. Let me also say, of course, we did the area review. One of the areas that we really wanted to see was West Houston, and know that with the release of the water from that area, homes that did not flood as a result of the storm are being flooded as a result of the release. Can certainly understand people's frustration with regards to what's happening there. Steve Costello has been talking with the Corps of Engineers on an ongoing basis, daily basis, sometimes several times. I know I visited directly with the Colonel of the Corps of Engineers today. Wanted to know how long they would be maintaining that level of their release, and essentially saying let's not do any more than what we need to do. So everyone is very, very, very sensitive to that issue. Steve, come on, why don't you speak to it?
Thank you. One of the things I do want to remind everybody is don't pay attention to social media. Please reach out to the people who have all the information. All the district council members have been calling the office and calling me directly to get the correct information. And in particular, we are obviously a little disconcerted in the fact that we still have flooding going on in Kingwood area, and we have flooding going on in District A and District C, District G around the reservoirs. The good information about Kingwood area is that the water levels are declining. Actually, 3 feet has been declined over the dams at the Lake Houston, which is a good sign, so things are improving in the Kingwood area. We've been talking with Councilmember Martin quite a bit. Unfortunately, he's had some house flooding problems. Councilmember Stardick and I have been talking almost on a daily basis, as well as Councilmember Travis, about what's going on with the reservoirs. The advice, or what we were told today by the Corps, is that the reservoirs are fairly full, particularly Barker is about 80% full at the present time, and Addicts is a little over 100% full. We still have some what we call uncontrolled spillway going into a ditch alongside the reservoir. That uncontrolled spillway will terminate probably sometime on Saturday. But as the mayor said, he's been in constant contact with the Corps. He's talked to the colonel. They have assured us that they're going to be monitoring this. We want to lower that discharge as quickly as possible because we're impacting quite a few people on the west side. Thank you, Mayor.
And I know Councilmember Stardick, that also includes a part of your area, so please, if you want to have any comments on that.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't have anything prepared, but I want to let everyone know in West Houston, I've been out in the field. I've gone up on the dam. It's not good. I've talked to our police officers that are actually at Derry Ashford. They've watched the water line come forward and recede and then come forward again. So I am continue to be concerned. But we have been assured by the Corps and others that the dam is not going to be breached, as in it's not going to fail and be destroyed and wipe out our communities. It is an issue where we will continue to see waters rise in our area, and we're blessed that the rain has stopped. But we need to continue to monitor and look out for our neighbors. And after dark comes, I want to make sure that if you need alerts in your area for your prized possessions that may be drying out while you're away or while you're there, feel free to contact my office. We're checking our voicemails along with my colleagues, and we'll be happy to help, with alert slips and other things. But we are here for you, and then you're always welcome to contact me in West Houston and District A, Inwood, Spring Branch, Sherwood Oaks, Energy Corridor. I'm naming those because they've already had the impact. It's not that there's more to come. You just need to continue to monitor the rise in the water. It's not that there's going to be a disaster on that dam. I need you to stay as calm as possible and stay with the facts. We care. I care, and if I know of any danger coming to you, I will get in front of the mayor and make sure you know about it. Thank you.
Two more brief subjects, and we'll open it up. On power, Floyd Blanc and CenterPoint has just been a vital partner on so many different levels, not just in terms of getting the lights back on, but assisting us as well on things that are impacting even City Hall itself. So, Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor Turner. CenterPoint Energy recognizes how important electric service is in our daily lives. We use it to power equipment that helps us to be comfortable, power equipment that helps us to stay safe, power equipment that helps us to stay informed and aware of what's going on in the world around us. So we continue to work 24/7 to get electric service restored. On yesterday evening, I reported that the outage count was down to 75,000. As of this afternoon, we're down to 37,000 customers without electric service in a system that has 2.4 million customers. So nearly 99% of the customers have electric service. The 37,000 that remain without electric service, we're on it, and we will stay on it until we get your service restored. 14,000 of the remaining outages are adversely impacted by flooding conditions, and we have difficulty getting to the area to repair those damages. We know exactly where it is because, again, we have the smart grid operating. That's a system-wide story. We know you want to know about your neighborhood. So today we activated a neighborhood channel. We have 12 regional offices that cover 5,000 square miles, and you can go to centerpointenergy.com/storm center. centerpointenergy.com/storm center. You have to spell all of those words out completely. Click on the View Storm Updates Your Service Area tab, and you'll find information on what's going on by zip code in your area. CenterPoint Energy has internal names for these operating regions, such as Baytown. That includes the city of Baytown and the surrounding area. And in the Baytown region for CenterPoint Energy, a total of 27,000 customers have been without electric service across the course of this event. That number is down to less than 400 in the Baytown region. You can go and find the zip codes and see what's going on in your area. You can see where water is hindering the restoration effort. We have an area called Greenspoint. That's a lot bigger than Greenspoint Mall. 140,000 customers have been impacted by a loss of electricity in that area. That number is down to 6,300 remaining in the CenterPoint Greenspoint area. We have an area called Humble. The main office for that area is in Humble, but it covers Kingwood. It is the hardest hit area in this storm. 172,000 customers were without electric service. That number is down to 11,000. So you can go and see by your neighborhood what's going on, and we encourage you to do that. The natural gas utility system is very stable. We want you to call us if you smell natural gas. First, leave the area, go to a safe place, and then call CenterPoint Energy. We want to get people out to make sure that it's not a natural gas leak. That phone number is 888-876-5786. 888-876-5786. Thank you.
Thanks, Floyd. So the city is, and the area is coming back, and we started the general regular trash pickup today. We started doing the heavy trash pickup on yesterday. We're going to be constantly ramping up, but getting people's homes rehabilitated or rebuilt, getting people out of the shelters and back in their homes, all of these things cannot be done without the assistance of FEMA. Red Cross is for those immediate conditions, and then they hand off the baton to FEMA, and we need FEMA just in a major way. That's just being straight to the point. We need them, can't get it done without them, and quite frankly, we need it done like yesterday, because right now, people understand the conditions, but they're going to want to get back in their home and move forward, and we can't do it without FEMA. And I got my good friend, my good friend. He and I are just like brothers, We're just that close, and we're going to stay so close. He knows when I'm about to call on him. Come on, Dwayne, and kind of walk us through.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. We continue to support the response and recovery efforts of our state and local partners. I'm going to end up sounding like a broken record. I've been in front of you guys the last couple of nights saying this, and I'm going to say it again. Register, register, register. That is the number one thing a disaster survivor can do, is register for assistance. Statewide in this disaster, we've already taken over 380,000 registrations. That's just that important to get in and get registered for services. You can either go...
When you say registered, what do you mean?
Registered is by going online to disasterassistance.gov and filling out the forms there so that you're registered with FEMA for services, or you can call 1-800-621-FEMA and do the same thing by talking to an operator. We have also had our disaster survivor assistance folks out in the field working in the shelters at GRB, NRG, and the ML Campbell today, registering folks that were staying in the shelters. But again, if you're not in the shelter and you're in a safe place, please use one of the other methods that I've mentioned to register for assistance. The next step that we have is going to be to try and get a disaster recovery center open. And in consulting with our state and local partners, we're starting to look at potential sites to do that, to get our first one open, and then there'll be many more open after that. A disaster recovery center is kind of a one-stop shop to come in, discuss your case if you have registered, if you've been having any issues getting services, if there's any shortages in your application that you need to take care of. It's also a place that you can contact the Small Business Administration. They are one of our very active partners in disaster recovery. They're able to make disaster loans available to people. And also you'll be able to access some mitigation staff from FEMA that'll be able to talk to you about ways to make sure that when you are going into your homes and cleaning them out, taking out the carpet, the walls, things like that, that you're doing it in a safe fashion, that you mitigate any health risks to yourself while you're doing that, as well as provide some suggestions on things you can do as you rebuild that may help future incidents not be as severe. Again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
And Dwayne, have y'all already provided any financial assistance?
Yes, statewide, and this is all available on the FEMA.gov website. You can pull up the daily individual assistance numbers. They post them there every day. And right now, statewide in our individual households program, $66 million has gone out the door to help the citizens of Texas recover from this. Thank you.
And I wanted to highlight that. Please register because they are already activated, and we certainly look forward to being their partners. Lastly, what I would say today, I was on a conference call with 77 mayors from across the country, 77 Mayor Mitch Landrieu, who's the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, convened to offer, and they made themselves available to offer what they can, anything that the city needed, they were prepared to do it. As you know, that there are police officers already in town from Fort Worth and San Antonio. there are two large trucks that are on their way from Boston. And they are sending down toiletries, cleaning equipment, I can't think of the other things, to the Houston area. And what I've said to them, as they send these things down, and we also want to be in communication with our surrounding areas like Beaumont and Port Arthur. And so even things that we are getting, we will share with them as well. But these were 77 mayors who literally are saying, we are here for Houston and the region, and they are already putting things in place, and I want to thank them. And again, I want to thank all Houstonians, people in the region. The curfew has been in place. No citations was issued last night because people from 12 to 5 are staying off the street. I want to thank you for that. So let's continue to do our part, and I know we'll rebuild very quickly. Having said that, and you've heard a whole lot, any questions if we have not already answered them?
I have a question for Superintendent Carranza.
Superintendent.
With us too?
Go ahead, Superintendent. If you missed something, I'm here to fill in the blanks.
Superintendente Carranza, mi nombre es Gabriel Esparza de ¿Qué onda Magazine? Quería preguntarle si cuándo va a abrir la escuela, cuándo abren las escuelas y si los autobuses están listos para levantar a los niños.
La pregunta es cuándo va a estar lista la escuela, cuándo vamos a abrir la escuela y los autobuses. Entonces, el primer día del año escolar va a ser el día lunes 11 de septiembre, que es en una semana. El día lunes 11 de septiembre es cuando vuelven nuestros estudiantes a la escuela. Los maestros van a volver el día 8 de septiembre, que es un viernes. Estamos en el proceso hoy mismo, revisando todos nuestros edificios, asegurando que esos edificios están bien capaces para nuestros estudiantes, que sea un lugar que sea seguro para nuestros estudiantes. Sin embargo, también nuestros autobuses están listos para transportar a nuestros estudiantes. Estamos trabajando muy cerca con las autoridades de emergencia y nuestros compañeros de la ciudad y del condado, asegurando que las calles están abiertas y que están listas para tener esa transportación de nuestros estudiantes. Entonces, todo según el plan, el día 11 es el primer día de escuela para todos nuestros estudiantes. Gracias.
Sir, while you're there, you talked a little bit about the widespread damage. Can you talk about if there were any schools that were impacted in particular by the storm, especially maybe in the Meyerland area?
Sure. So I'm going to refrain from talking about specific schools. Most of that is because some of those schools do have some breaches in them that we want to make sure are secure until we can get them secured. But we have seen some flood or water intrusion in schools in the Meyerland area. Absolutely. On the west side, we've also seen some significant damage to some of our buildings as well. So we do know that if the schools are impacted, obviously the neighborhoods are impacted as well.
And one follow-up for you. Will you be trying to get a waiver from the state to shorten the number of required school days since you're going to lose a couple weeks here on the front end?
Absolutely. We've been in touch with the Commissioner of Education, the Deputy Commissioner. HISD is not alone. There are 17 sister school districts in the greater Houston area. All of us have nightly communication where we're planning as well. So all of us have been impacted to some degree or another, but all of us have delayed school starting. So we're working in unison in those petitions to the Commissioner as well.
Thank you, sir.
Actually, I have a question, and Mayor, this might be for Dr. Purse. Anything that we need to know that people know about health issues or tips or anything like that? Now that we're going into a different phase?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Pretty broad question, but a couple of things. One is I want to piggyback on what Fire Chief Pena said about being careful as you're re-entering your homes. You know, in some places where the water still is, there are dangers or anything, like potentially a missing manhole cover or something like that, so you can stop and get hurt. The water is dirty. We don't generally see huge outbreaks of disease after flooding events like this, but to the individual, you can get sick from what may be in the water, so don't expose yourself to anything more than you have to. It's dirty water. It's not dangerous water other than the hazards of stepping on something, but it is dirty water, the animals that he talked about. In terms of the overall healthcare system, the hospitals are coming back online. They're not quite at 100%. A number of hospitals went completely offline, but for the most part, they are coming back online. The clinics, unfortunately, are a slightly different story. A lot of the clinics are coming back. Some of them sustained quite a bit of damage, and it's going to take weeks to months for them to completely come back online. And there are a couple of hospitals in the city and in the region that sustained a lot of damage. And so, for the most part, things are coming back, but we're not going to be back to 100% for a couple of months. Thank you.
Yes. So right now, our response profile is based on reports. Certainly, we are part of the plan. It will include to check critical infrastructures if we need to, but unless we have a report on there, that's not the first priority. Our first priority is to get through these wide area searches and to ensure that we've covered every area that's been devastated by the floods. You know, and again, I want to thank the firefighters who keep working out there, even those that have experienced damage in their own homes. So, you know, credit to them and the public safety, first responders, police officers, and everybody. But certainly, you know, my firefighters are important to me, and I want to acknowledge their work. So.
One other question: we saw one of the deaths related to the storm was a man who was electrocuted by a wire in the water.
Right.
Anything you can tell people about avoiding the risk of that, noticing something being wrong?
Exactly. So as the power comes on, and you know, CenterPoint is doing an excellent job of getting the service back up. It's a flood zone. It's a disaster zone. So there are going to be some inherent dangers in these zones. The electrocution aspect is something of concern. We're taking certain precautions as we approach these scenes. In that we have sticks to measure any electricity present in the water. So I can tell you that the areas that we've already searched have been cleared from our perspective. But certainly, you know, as you approach your home, look up. If there's wires touching your house, then the chances are that there can be an electrocution hazard. Certainly, if there's standing water, be cautious of your surroundings because that's always a hazard.
Any other questions? Yes.
Given the traffic you've seen out of the shelters, do you have any sense of how many people have tried to return to their homes at this point? Do you have any worries about people being premature in trying to go back to their homes based on conditions at this point?
You know, and based on the area view that we did today, most of Houston appears to be dry. Okay, and that was reassuring. There are several areas that caused. But there's still a lot of water, the Kingwood area being one, the West Houston being another, and then right around, I think, I-10 Normandy area in Northeast is another area. But most of the city of Houston is now dry. I do want people to exercise caution if they let's say, leaving the shelters and returning home, or if they were sought lodging someplace else and returning home. They just need to be extra careful. When they are returning. But I just, you know, there were some who said most of the city of Houston is underwater. That's not the case. Most of the city of Houston is dry. But do exercise extreme caution when you're returning to your home. Okay?
We've got a couple questions on the storm relief fund. My understanding is that residents of the community who lack papers can't benefit from a lot of FEMA programs or at least some FEMA programs. Is there any sort of discussion about directing a disproportionate share of the relief funds to those folks? What sorts of...
Mike, we haven't gotten to that level of detail. I will tell you that when we had the storm last year, we used the relief fund. Well, number one, we worked through nonprofits, and then nonprofits kind of directed those funds to where they thought was best. But even if you don't have the documentation, Dwayne, you want to kind of address that for people who, how you all handle that situation?
Obviously, as people were evacuating, they may not have had the time to grab all the proper documentation. I mean, who does? We want to get out. We want to get out alive. FEMA will work with individuals that are having difficulty finding titles to their cars or their homes or whatever, any of those documents that we might ask them to have. They will work with them and try and find alternate methods, either through state agencies or whatever, to prove identity, prove ownership, things like that. It's just not cut and dried that if I don't have this, I don't get something. We work with everybody to the best we can to get things done. Again, I would defer back to the mayor for any questions about the fund. Thank you.
I will tell you, and I envision.
While you're there, I mean, if there are FEMA programs that folks without citizenship papers
Anybody that was living in the city and was impacted should go ahead and register, and then determination can be made after that whether or not they're eligible.
And I will tell you that the benefit of the relief fund is to somewhat fill in the gaps, what people can't receive from FEMA. The relief fund is intended to fill in the gaps through the nonprofits. For example, there was a mother that was in the shelter that I met, and she's a renter. She has 2 kids, and her concern was, Mayor, what if I don't qualify for FEMA? One of the things that we did last year, working through the nonprofits, they filled in the gaps through the relief fund. None of the dollars for the relief fund will go to governmental entities. So the dollars are not going to Harris County as a government. The dollars are not going to the city of Houston. The intent of the relief fund is to assist individuals and families to fill in the gap for where FEMA may fall short, and to help kind of get people back on their feet, working through other nonprofits.
Have you got any sense of the condition of the roads, or any sense of the timetable on repairing one of the traffic lights or dead traffic?
And I'm glad you brought that up. On the blinking lights, and there are a number of them, what we're asking people to do, when you run into blinking lights, if you will call 311 and notify us. We are bringing in, I think Jeff is maybe gone.
I can jump in if you want.
Yeah,
me.
come on.
Okay. Just as a follow-up, what Public Works is doing now is we're moving on to damage assessment. And so we just started doing that. We're working with Harris County Flood Control District to map out the flood-prone areas, and that's where we'll focus our first attention will be on the impact on our utilities as well as our road system. We're currently in the process of assessing our treatment plants right now as we speak, both water and sewer. So this is a process that will be ongoing because obviously as we get damage and we figure out those damage assessments, we'll be reaching out to FEMA for reimbursement.
Okay. Senator Whitmire, why don't you come and just say hello?
No, I have nothing but praise for having the opportunity to be in the briefing room. I make it a habit at state government to put a face on the problem, and I would loudly say that in the briefing, the mayor makes certain that his directors put a face on the constituency, and he is continuing to push them hard when they give him a deadline for meeting a expectation. I'm witnessing our mayor push the first responders and the support agencies as hard as humanly possible. So as a public official, that's what I think the public expects. And it's being performed here as we live and breathe. Each and every component of state, city, and county government is working together, our school district, our transportation, our port. I'm here to reassure my constituents and all that hear my voice that everything that is humanly possible is being done by this mayor, this city, and its supporting agencies. So thank you, Mayor. I look forward to continuing the cooperative effort of every level in every agency from the state, the nation, right through local government. And Mr. FEMA, the only thing I would say as an average person is when you say you have to register, there's some of us that have been so busy may not totally comprehend that. So for the people I represent, one, I want them, regardless of their status, to feel comfortable to come forward and ask questions and say, I'm not sure how I register. And as I asked you in the briefing, you want documentation of ownership of a house or a car. I've seen pictures by the thousands of people ran out with literally the clothes on their back. So I hope, as you've mentioned, all of our agencies will be placing a face on that family that might do everything humanly possible but can't prove ownership of something that's expected. And I understand we're dealing with taxpayer dollars, but thank you for being here and showing the compassion and the competence that's going to get us through this deal. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thanks, Senator. And there's such a great relationship between the city and the county, and I've enjoyed working with Commissioner Ellis on so many different levels. They've opened up the shelter over there at NRG, and he's been over here several times and been out in the field. So, Commissioner Ellis, come on. Let me thank the Harris County. Let me thank all of you all for just being a critical partner.
Well, Mayor, you'll be glad to know I won't give a speech. I think my role is to be supportive. I'm very proud of the work you are doing, Mayor, and the work that the county's doing. You and Judge Emmett have made a great team. I did make the comment to you that all of us politicians are real good at giving advice. So my advice to the mayor is to give us some assignments. He's given me a few. All his staff did point out. He called me about 3 a.m. the other night. I didn't answer the phone. And so they said, I thought you asked for an assignment, but I'm here to be supportive and you can count on Harris County. Thank you.
Let me add to that. He didn't answer the phone, so we called his wife.
And I was at home.
And she did answer the phone and then gave the phone to him. So, look.
Mayor, I wanted to say one thing. I just want you to know, all of us, you're doing a phenomenal job. And we thank you for your cooperation and all of you participating in this disaster that we're going through right now. We thank you for it.
No habla, no. Yeah, because no habla inglés solamente español. Sí, sí. Thank you all so much. Sí, thank you all. Thank you. Yes. Well, the reality is, people prepared. Then the storm came. Then people hunkered down in their homes. Some people went to the shelters during the storm, shortly before, during, or after the storm. And now the process is, and the city came to a halt. The city came to the halt. Now we have people in shelters, and the goal is to reduce that population as quickly as possible, and that is already taking place. People sheltered to get out the elements, but for those who have places to go, homes to go to, friends or relatives, they're doing that. And we see that in the population that's dropping, for example, at George R. Brown, 10,000 at its peak, now under 8,000. At M.O. Campbell, 2,000 at its peak, now down below 500. Those are pluses. We're closing tomorrow evening Toyota Center, consolidating that with the George R. Brown. So those are all pluses. There are traffic now that's on the road. The traffic is moving. There are two major areas where we're still dealing with water problems, but by and large, the city of Houston is dry. The Astros are playing their baseball games, doubleheader on Saturday. They're inviting many of the people in our shelters to come to the game, so we're playing ball. Metro has resumed its service. Regular trash pickup has begun. A lot of people will be putting things out in front of their houses, and so we're moving aggressively to pick up debris. I've talked to FEMA many times. They know I place a high premium on trash pickup. Let me add, do not mix your regular trash with the debris from your homes. Don't mix the two, okay? Because that will hurt our efforts with FEMA. So you have to separate your regular trash from the debris from the storm that caused the damage from the storm. So don't do that. Business community is stepping up in an amazing way. The spirit of people is high. We did a walkthrough through one of the shelters today. It's amazing how people were just had such positive spirit. What I've consistently said is that this city is going to rebuild itself. We're going to do it in short order. The goal that I have set, a year from now, barring any other storms, let me put that caveat in it, but a year from now, when people come and they look at the city, they are not going to see any signs of Hurricane Harvey having come this way. I don't think I know. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be more competitive. I'm encouraging conventions, conferences that were scheduled to come to the city of Houston. Don't cancel out on us now. Don't cancel out on us. We will be ready. Hotels will be functioning. All of the restaurants are starting to open again. Thank goodness for that. Restaurants are opening again. So all of the things that we would have been able to provide, people who are coming to our conferences, conventions, sporting events, entertainment, you name it, don't book, please come. There's no reason for you for you to cancel out. So I'm excited about where we are. This is a city that's always dealt with challenges. We dealt with them in a very positive and a strong way. So, Mike, I could go on and on and on. I know you don't want me to go on and on and on. So, but the point is, the city of Houston, and let me just speak into all of the cameras, the city of Houston is open for business. And quite frankly, we're open for business right now. Okay?